Customs like the Ghost Month are very universal. You see them in a lot of different kinds of cultures. For instance, in Japan, they have something called the Obon Festival. In Mexico, there's the Day of the Dead Festival. And in America, we have Halloween, trick or treat. Now, Halloween has a very interesting history behind it, and actually it's very similar. Actually, all of these are very similar to the Ghost Month sort of tradition. Halloween has very interesting origins. Some trace the origins of the present day, trick or treat to Samhain, which was a supreme night of sort of demonic jubilation. Spirits of the dead would sort of rise out of their graves and wander the countryside, trying to return to the homes where they formerly lived. The frightened villagers tried to appease these wandering spirits by offering them, gifts and fruits and nuts and whatever they may have, laying around to offer. They began the tradition of placing plates and the finest foods and bits of treats that the household had to offer out on their doorsteps as gifts and offerings to appease the hunger of these ghostly wanderers. If the ghosts were not satisfied, the villagers feared that the spirits would kill their animals or destroy their property. So this was taken very seriously, and it was something that had to be done every year so they could sort of protect their lifestyles. The problem was that if the souls of the dead could return, so could anything else, human or inhuman. The only thing that these superstitious people knew how to do to protect themselves on these occasions was to masquerade as one of the demonic horde. Hopefully they would blend in unnoticed among them. Usually they wore masks, they wore other disguises, they blackened their face with soot. These were all ways that they sort of originally went about hiding themselves from the spirits of the dead who were roaming about. All of these things are the true origins of where Halloween came from. Others trace trick-or-treat to a European custom called souling. Beggars would go from village to village begging for things called soul cakes. They're basically small square pieces of bread that they would use to offer. The more soul cakes the beggars would receive, the more prayers they would promise to say on behalf of the dead relatives of whoever made them. It was believed that the dead remained in limbo for a time after death, and that prayers or offerings, even by a stranger, could guarantee a soul's passage into heaven. However, Ghost Month has always been a very solemn festival. The festival, nevertheless, represents a connection between the living and the dead, between heaven and earth, as well as the body and the soul. The Ghost Month has Buddhist origins. They can be traced back to a story, a very old story from India, but later on it took on more sort of Chinese overtones. The story is about a wealthy merchant who one day gave up his business and decided he was going to become a Buddhist monk. Eventually, he became one of Buddha's chief disciples. Before he became a monk, he left all his money and worldly possessions to his mother and his father. One day, he wondered what happened to his father and his mother. So he traveled all over the known Buddhist universe looking for them, and eventually he found them. He found his father had been reborn into a god realm, and he found that his mother had been reborn into a lower realm, which is known as the realm of the hungry ghost. It was here, she sort of took on the form of a hungry ghost. Basically, she could not eat because she had a very thin throat and no food could pass through, yet she was always hungry, very, very hungry, but nothing ever satisfied her. She had a very emaciated body, she had a very large belly, and she just was constantly hungry. No amount of food or anything could ever satisfy her hunger because her throat was so thin. The monk found out that she had been greedy with all the money that he left her. She was very unkind to people in her life, and it's for this reason that she was reborn into this lower realm of the hungry ghost. This is sort of the story that is behind the Chinese Ghost Month. It is just really a story about greed, about never satisfying the hungers of the world. It's a very symbolic story.